Video blogger Amos Yee was convicted in Singapore on Tuesday. North Korea's intelligence chief was executed, and Australia slashes foreign aid to bolster terrorist defenses. These stories are coming up next. This is the Asia Brief. A very good morning to you on this Thursday, May 14th, 2015. My name is Steve Miller. Thank you so much for joining me. Now, let's go ahead and get started with our very first story. Now, as expected, Amos Yee was convicted in Singapore on Tuesday for uploading obscene content. Prosecutors actually called for probation and counseling, saying that the youth needed reformative training. Yee's lawyer, Alfred Dodwell, asked for jail time for time already served rather than probation. And then I spoke to Phil Robertson, Deputy Director of Asia Division for Human Rights Watch, to get his opinion on the ruling.
Criminalizing free expression by anyone who dares mock the powers that be is a tried and true practice of the Singapore government, and Amos Yee is the latest victim. Singapore excels at constructing excuses to justify its gagging exercises, but the charges that were brought against Yee are a stretch even by Singapore's usual practice. From an international rights perspective, nothing Amos Yee said about religion in his famous video about Lee Kuan Yew justified these criminal charges against him. And given what circulates on the internet these days, convicting Yee with transmitting an obscene representation is laughably arbitrary and a new low for restricting freedom of expression. Yee was right to point out that even the bail terms that barred him from using social media were a gag order designed to strip him of his right to free expression. The reality is convicting Amos Yee was all about publicly punishing a youthful dissident who dared besmirch the image of the recently passed leader Lee Kuan Yew, and intimidating anyone else who might think of doing the same in the future. Singapore's actions to criminalize Yee's statements run contrary to international human rights standards and are a dangerous affront to freedom of expression. Singapore has once again proved that those who speak their minds in the city-state do so at their own risk. No wonder the youth of Singapore are increasingly worried about their future, since their government seems doggedly determined to gag their words on social media and shut down news portals putting out stories that don't agree with the government's political line. This is a dark day for freedom of expression in Singapore.
He is now out on bail, but is alleging he's been molested by Vincent Law, the family and youth counselor who actually stepped forward to bail him out. Yee's lawyer said that Yee never mentioned any of this to him or his legal team before, and Law, of course, is calling the allegations false. The big news on the Korean Peninsula Wednesday came from a briefing by South Korea's National Intelligence Service. The NIS announced the DPRK had executed the Minister of People's Armed Forces, Hyon Yong Chol, using an anti-aircraft gun. The briefing said that hundreds of officials viewed the execution on April 30th. The apparent reason for his death? Falling asleep during military events and showing disrespect to leader Kim Jong-un. This comes on the heels right after rumors that North Korea executed 15 other top officials roughly 2 weeks ago. If it is true, which is yet to be confirmed, such executions would make other current and future officials and military officers less trusting of one another and of the leadership above them, said NK News Director of Intelligence, John Grisafi. Grisafi also noted this would undermine the chain of command and organizational strength within the North Korean regime. North Korean expert Andrei Lenkov said, because of his age and because of his sudden promotion, it is highly likely that most of those around him did not take him seriously, at least initially. So he is now sending signals that he is to be feared. Having said that, the fact that he can do it with very little resistance can show in some regard that the situation is stable. Lenkov said that while he is inclined to believe the reported executions, he wasn't certain they took place. According to a new annual budget, Australia will cut its foreign aid contributions while at the same time increasing counterterrorism spending. Federal Treasurer Joe Hockey said Tuesday his financial blueprint would make the country stronger, safer, and more prosperous. Overall, Australia will slash its foreign aid budget by 40% as it tries to balance its books after racking up massive deficits following tax revenue shortfalls and other setbacks. Indonesia will be the nation hardest hit, losing out on some $175 million in aid. Save the Children Australia's Matt Tinker said, "Who that hits in particular is Indonesia's vulnerable. What it means is less children get vaccinated, less girls go to school, less women get empowered through work and a job, so it is really the poor people of Indonesia and our region that are going to bear the brunt of this budget's cuts." Indonesia isn't alone in getting aid slashed. African nations will see a reduction upwards of 70%, a move that several charities criticized. The government said it considered several factors in making the budget cuts, and the recent executions in Indonesia played absolutely no factor. Hockey also said, "The threat of terrorism is rising and ever evolving, and our response must be swift and uncompromising. We must have the best counterterrorism capabilities available. Tonight, the government is committing an extra $450 million for our intelligence capabilities to ensure that we have the very best equipment and skills necessary to keep our communities safe." And those are today's stories. I hope you'll take a moment to leave your thoughts in the comments on Facebook or Twitter. To keep up with more news from the region, please follow Asia News Weekly on Facebook or Twitter. You can also send an email to the show with your questions, your comments, and your feedback. That email address is podcast@asianewsweekly.net. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with your friends, and if you haven't, subscribe. It's absolutely free and easy to do. Just go to our website, asianewsweekly.net, and click on the subscribe tab, and when you do, the next episode is delivered automatically to you. Well, my friends, that's all the time I have today. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Steve Miller, reminding you to be true to yourself and to always be awesome.